So first, good morning all. First, we'll check like what functionalities are working for our current project. So we will first start with the class controller. The class controller we have implemented uh, two endpoints mainly. One is the get class by the class ID. So what it will do basically, it will bring all the students related to that class into the like how many students are there, and we can also implement the number of students in class. Along with that, we can bring the list of students present in class. So this is the class get endpoint. Functionality. Okay, so here first we'll go to the class section, then get class by ID, and we'll try to call it. We can see this class we have just started the application, so this class does not exist. So we'll first create the class. While creating the class, we'll give the class name as one, class size 40, then create a date, enrollment date. So these random dates I have taken as of now. So suppose today's date, if we pass here, today's date is a 15/7. And enrollment started, like we can say, from the uh, 1st of August. Our enrollment will start for this class, and then completion will be like next year in the June, we can say 15th of June. And class teacher name we have given fee amount notes. So notes is not yet updated since our class is starting, so it will be uploaded later. So similarly, the subjects also we are passing, like what are the subjects available in the class. So suppose a first subject we are giving as language subject as Hindi, second subject we are giving as science, so there are like couple of fields in the subjects also that we can populate, and then the student class. So some students also we can, let's see, like first let's create the class. So our class has been created. Now we'll go and see get class by ID. So to check it is created or not, we'll send this request again. Okay, so there is some issue. Let's first check in the table what is the detail there or not. Select star from class. We can see one row class has been created with all these details. So in database, we are able to see the details, but here in application, Postman, it's not coming up. Okay, there is some exception for this. We'll resolve this today. And also we'll see like there are the subjects created or not. Plural. Let's remove this. Table or view does not exist. Okay. We'll see like what table name we have given for subjects. Go under the entity and subject entity basically. So table name should be with this only. Yeah, so we can select two subjects also has been created, Hindi and Science, and its class ID is 1. So student table is populating correctly, and class table is also record has been created for the class 1. Now we need to add the students to the class. So let's open the like I will duplicate this script. This is about for the student. One will open the for the student class. So in student class, we can see one ID has been created for the student class since we have made like here in the postman. If you see for the create class, we've given one student class status. So what we'll do, let's see, like I have saved the request body, complete request body for this. So I will, let me check in the docs. Okay. So let's take it from the student class itself. First, we will take the see the student. So in the under the student, okay. So we have created the class and we have to add the student to that class basically. Class creation completed, subject added per class, and addition of students also we are able to do last time. Okay. So let's add from here. We'll create one more class. We'll make it as second, and then we'll try to add the student to that class also. So we have to create basically student class. Let me first check the student table. So I'll duplicate this also. So as of now, student table is blank, and one more SQL script I will create. So this is the subject. Let me run here. It is the class, so we'll run the class. We can see data in the class as a first class ID, and we can see rest of the details. Class teacher email we have not passed. So we'll pass the class teacher email also. Let me open our Swagger also. So we have created for our application one endpoint, add new class to the student. So here also only we are passing subject, okay. But we can use this class teacher email, okay. So here class teacher name is written. No problem, we'll see from the code. Like what is the field for the class email. So under the classroom table, classroom, we can see field as class teacher email. So we'll pass the same thing here. So this time we can take the another name for a teacher, and then we can write the Gmail for it. We will try to populate all the fields. So class name we have given, class size, grade. What are the other fields are present here? Fee amount of the class. Then we have the subjects also. Under subjects, what fields we are having, we can see that. So we have the subject name and subject ID, only two fields are there. And then under which classroom it should go, that is automatically it is picking. So classroom in the subjects. So in subjects, we can see classroom ID is auto picking, and it is coming from the student class, which is the primary key. So from subject table, we can also navigate to the class, basically. So again, I will come here. So this is the one feature of the database, like on clicking on this, you can go to the associated class from here, and we can see the class details. Same thing is should be applicable here also, but we have not added yet details. Okay, so we have seen the we are populating the fields basically currently. So for class level details, we have added notes is not required. Now subject ID is auto generated, so we are not passing here. There are two fields only as of now in the subject. So one is the ID, subject ID, and then other is the subject name. Here, subject name. We are having the classroom also here, but that is internally associated on the basis of our many to one relationship. Okay, so subject also data we have populated. Now, what is the next thing in the class is student class. So we'll go to the student class and create one field for it. Student class. Here we are taking the student class array and we need to pass the all the fields. So as of now, what I am passing is I'm passing only the completion status. Now we'll pass the other fields. So other fields are as student, classroom, and so classroom will auto associate with it. So we'll not pass the classroom. We can pass the student. So for student addition, we need to write here student double quote and student is also the single student. Okay, so single student we can add, but in the classroom. Okay, so one student can have the many class and one classroom can have the many student. Many to one relationship we are having from the student class table. Okay, so many to one means more than one student will pass. So let's see. So we are adding the student details here. In student, we have to add the student name. We should add the student name. Then what is the next thing? Student roll number. So roll number should be auto generated. We will not take it. Class ID it should pick from here. Student class. Okay, let's pass the email for that student. Then mobile number we can give. Ten digit we have given just. Then these dates will not populate. Later on, we will implement the logic like automatically date should be picked current date. Okay, so one student we have added. We'll try to duplicate this. So second student I'm adding as Prabhat, and I'll change the last digit as a phone number. Okay. So now two students we have to add. Just we have to cross check like in student class. So in student class we are giving the roll number and okay. Let's see if it works. So we have added the student details also in the student class. Okay. And after the student, we have the completion status. We are giving the in progress. Then certificate ID will be generated after the class is completed. Or we can give also later on with the same certificate ID it should generate. Okay. So let's pass the certificate ID here. So we can give for now the year 2023-24 as certificate ID. And what else? Okay. So this is the student class and we have added the student, one student, two student. Let's see if it picks. So we'll hit the create class. Second class would get created. So there is some issue in our request body. Uh, it's coming. It is a cannot deserialize. Okay, so for now, I think as per our logic, this single student it will pick. So let's take it as single student only. Class details null. Object reference. Okay. So student details is having the problem here. Org.hibernate. Save the transient insert instance before flushing. So there is a problem with the student class dot student entity. Okay, so we'll check this also. Yeah, so there is other way we can add the student. Last time, if you remember, we have created one student controller. So from there, from student controller, we are having the endpoint as admission of student. We can take the students from there. Just like we are trying to add the student at the time of the class creation. So that functionality is not working as of now, but we can add the students from the student controller, basically admission of student. From there we can add the student for now. Okay, so let's create the second class and see other fields are coming proper. Okay, so we'll see in the table. Basically for now these responses are not correct, although the class has been created. Now we'll see in the table. So if I will go into the class table, one more class should be created here. So we can see with the class id 3 it is creating, because first time when I hit, some exception was coming and class ID is auto incremented. So if exception is coming, that time also our class ID is incrementing by itself. So that's why here class ID 3 is coming. Okay. So we should avoid the auto increment of the class ID. Whenever exception comes, it is incrementing. Okay. So this is the third issue. Case of class creation exception, class ID increments have to avoid. And class ID also, like a class ID should not be, I mean, for now what is happening, class ID is going in the sequence, like first it will go 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5. But we should be able to create the class. Suppose we want to create the class 8 before the class 5, so that also we should be able to create it. So we can avoid sequencing. Next requirement is avoid sequencing in class and should be able to generate class with specific class ID, not in the sequence only. So as of now, as per current logic, it is going in the sequence. Okay. So class 3 has been created, and class teacher email we can see, class teacher name we can see. Then these dates are coming proper. Okay. Now we'll check in the subject. Subject has been created or not for the second class. So second class here is, I mean third class. So third class has two subject, Hindi and science. Again it is creating. So this is also fine. Now we'll check in the student class. So in student class, we can see certificate added generating completion status, but it is not mapping with class ID. So for class ID, to check the which class ID is associated with this three, we have one new table, and that table is select star student. So you can see student class, student underscore student class. Okay, but we need the class and student class. Okay, so class hyphen student class, it should come. Let me check under this table first, anything change. No. Okay, so that's fine. This will be a part of the new script. So now second challenge is our here in student class, our class ID is not coming. Here class ID should reflect. Okay. Last time it was working, but some because of some issue it is not showing. Okay, so class ID we should get, and then this is the one thing. And second, so now we'll try to do the admission of a student externally. Externally in the sense like from different endpoint, a student controller. So I'm taking class as one, and these details I'm passing. Student class. Okay. So here the student name is Hare Ram. Okay, let's hit it. Could not execute integrity constraint. Parent key not found. Insert into the student class. Okay. Parent key does not found. Okay, ID2 it is taking. So we'll take the ID2 with classroom 2. It is not present actually. So for class 1 basically I'm creating one student. So now we'll see in the student table data is coming. So we can say with class ID 1, we have created one student, and we'll go to the student class table now. So in student class table, one more row should be inserted here, and class ID is student ID is 2 and class ID is 1. So class ID, when we'll create the student, then class ID will come. When we'll create only the class, then at that time class ID is not coming. But if we create the student, then class ID is coming properly. Okay. So while admission of a student, we are able to get the student roll number, class ID also, and it's in progress status. Now when we create the class, when we create the class, that time also we can get the class ID. Basically, we need to give here the class ID one field, but it should pick the automatic. So this was just to showcase like we are able to do the admission of student also in the table level. So we can see like one student has been added. We'll add one more student to this. So let's go take the same class ID as admission of a student I need to do. So we'll take one student as Rahul. Class name we are taking as one only, and his mobile number we can change. Then this is the guardian name. Okay, that's not a problem. Class ID 1 we are taking. So we are adding one more student basically to the same class. So here I need to change the email also. So now we'll see in the table first. In the Here we can see with one student has been created, and we'll check in the student table like which student has been created. So we can see with Rahul at the gmail.com, and name is Rahul. One student has been created already. For that, this is the only details in the student. Now we'll see in the student class. So in student class, ID is also reflecting. So this mapping is correct with perspective to the this admission of a student. Now we have to implement like if we pass any class ID, we should get the list of all the students. So basically, so for getting the list of all the students from single class, we have to write the query. Let me check last time I have written the query here or not. Okay. Okay, I think we have not created. So we'll create a new query. Select star from. So we need the student name. Okay. So let's select star from. So basically we need the association of three tables. One is the class table for getting the class details, and other table is the student class. This one, student class, which will get the like IDs, student class ID, and from this ID basically, this is student class IDs, and then this student class IDs are associated with the next table, student table. So in the student table, okay, we are not populating that field. So for that purpose, we are having another table, that is the student class. So in a student class, we can see like student class ID is there. So from here, we can go to the student class table basically. And from student class table, we can go to the class table. So this is the way to navigate. Okay. So what we have to do is three tables we need to use: student, and one is a class. Okay. Create query to get list of students. Create query to get the list of students for class 1. This we are trying to create the query. So first we have to give the class 1 as a where class. So select star from student class. Select star from student class where class ID equal to 1. So if we run this, we can get like under the class 1, there are the two students are present with the roll number 2 and 3. Okay. So now we need to get the details of these students basically, like 2 and 3. So to get the details of the student, what details are present in the student, we need to see here. So one is the student roll number, student name. So we can get the two details, student name and student email and student roll number. Three details we can get from the for that student. So for getting those three details, we'll write the query. Okay. So now second query will be select name, comma, student name, basically student name, comma, email. Email of that student, and one more thing, so we can take student roll number. So student roll number. These three details we need to take from student table. So in the student table, we have the association with okay, so let's see first it is working or not. So we are able to get the student details separately, like name, email, and this. Okay. So I'll make the alias here st, and then here I'll write st dot because we are going to now perform the join between the different tables. So this should be the single. So now select star from student class and we need to perform the join. So under the student, we'll go from the here main table, intermediate table is this student class. So student class table is interacting with student class. This one basically student class. Let me duplicate this to not confuse. I will take this table. Why I am taking this table is because this table having the relationship between the student table and student class table. So here student class ID 5 is associating with student ID 2. So these two fields are associated for the relationship. So now so we need to join the student class with student class ID. Okay. So with this table, student class. I'll take here as SC short form for this. Join student class. This one I will take as SSC to this. Like first word I'm taking SSC on SC dot SC dot ID equal to SSC dot student class ID. So I'll just